Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. They laughed at Earth, then the entire Draconian fleet disappeared. Admiral Thorin Jorvik stood on the command bridge of the Draconian warship Inevitable Domination, his scaled fingers tapping against the obsidian control console. The massive viewscreen before him displayed a small blue planet, third from its unremarkable yellow star. Earth, he pronounced, the word harsh in the Draconian tongue. Preliminary scans confirm it as a Category 3 acquisition target, abundant resources, moderate technological development, minimal defensive capabilities. Lieutenant Nira, his tactical officer, nodded in agreement. The inhabitants call themselves humans. Their military forces are divided into nation-states with no unified defense network, no orbital weapons platforms detected, no long-range scanning systems beyond their immediate atmosphere. Jorvik's lip curled into what passed for a smile among his species, revealing rows of jagged teeth. The Draconian Empire had subjugated 14 systems in the past decade alone. Earth would be the 15th, an auspicious number in Draconian culture. Deploy the advanced scouts, Jorvik ordered. Standard protocol for a Category 3 planet. Silent approach, atmospheric analysis, defense assessment, then limited engagement to evaluate resistance capabilities. It will be done, Admiral, Lieutenant Nira responded with a formal salute. Scouts will deploy within the hour. As Nira departed to relay his orders, Jorvik studied the blue planet with satisfaction. The Draconian High Command had authorized him to test their newest weaponry on this world before formally adding it to the Empire. His career advancement would be assured once he delivered Earth's resources to the homeworld. Just another primitive species about to learn their place in the galaxy, he murmured to himself. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially didn't exist on any government record, Dr. Eliza Harrison stared at her monitor in disbelief. The network of quantum detection arrays she had designed, disguised as weather monitoring equipment across the globe, had detected something impossible. Professor Takeda, are you seeing this? She called to her colleague. Professor Takeda Hiroshi looked up from his workstation, his expression shifting from concentration to alarm. 7 objects decelerating from speeds that should be physically impossible, establishing equidistant positions in high Earth orbit. Eliza pushed her glasses up her nose, a nervous habit from childhood that decades of scientific achievement hadn't broken. This isn't a glitch, is it? I've run 3 diagnostic checks, Takeda confirmed. Whatever these objects are, they're real. For 12 years, Project Sentinel had operated under the official designation of Advanced Atmospheric Research Initiative. In reality, it was humanity's secret first line of defense against extraterrestrial contact. A contingency plan deemed too fantastical to share with the general public, but too important to ignore completely. Alert Director Novik, Eliza said, her fingers already typing commands to begin recording every possible data point from the unknown objects. We're at condition Omega. Within 30 minutes, Director Anton Novik's weathered face appeared on the secure video link. Unlike Eliza and Takeda, who still looked shell-shocked, the former intelligence officer appeared grimly unsurprised. We always knew this day would come, he said simply. What do we know about our visitors? Eliza pulled up the latest scans. 7 objects approximately 200 meters in length each. They're using some kind of energy field that bends light around them, advanced cloaking technology, but our quantum interference detectors can still track them. Any communications? Novik asked. Nothing we can detect, Director, Takeda replied. But they're deploying smaller craft now. We count 12 vessels, each about the size of a commercial airliner, descending into the atmosphere. Current trajectories suggest they're heading for major population centers: New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, Tokyo, Sydney, and Rio. Novik's expression darkened, and conventional radar. Completely blind to them, Eliza confirmed. If we hadn't built the QID network, we'd have no idea they were coming. Implement Protocol Thunderbolt, Novik ordered. I'll brief the Security Council. In the meantime, see if you can find a way to disrupt whatever technology they're using to hide themselves. As the video link terminated, Eliza turned to her team, now gathered around her workstation with expressions ranging from excitement to terror. You heard the director, she said, forcing confidence into her voice. Let's find a way to level the playing field. Commander Diego Reyes had been having a perfectly normal day patrolling the waters off the coast of San Diego when the encrypted message came through. 20 minutes later, he found himself flying at supersonic speeds in an experimental aircraft he hadn't known existed until today. "Run this by me again," he said to the pilot, Lieutenant Olivia Winters, who seemed disturbingly calm about the fact that they were apparently heading to intercept an alien spacecraft. "Project Sentinel detected extraterrestrial vessels entering Earth's atmosphere," Winters replied, eyes fixed on her instruments. "Command has activated sleeper units like ours all over the world. We're the closest team to the vessel heading toward Los Angeles." "And what exactly are we supposed to do when we find it?" "Ask them to fill out an immigration form." Winter's lips twitched in what might have been a smile. "The craft you're sitting in isn't just fast, Commander. It's equipped with experimental weapons systems designed to work against technologies that theoretically shouldn't exist on Earth." Diego looked around at the cockpit with new appreciation. "You're telling me someone has been preparing for an alien invasion?" "Not the government," Winters corrected. "A small international consortium of scientists, military personnel, and officials who were concerned enough to develop contingency plans without causing public panic. Current orders are to attempt observation only, but we're authorized to engage if the visitors demonstrate hostile intent." The aircraft's sensors pinged and Winters adjusted their course. "We have contact. The vessel is hovering over the Pacific about 30 miles offshore from Los Angeles. Cloaking technology active, but our systems can see through it." Diego peered through the canopy but saw nothing but clear blue sky. "I'll take your word for it. What's it doing?" "Collecting atmospheric samples according to our readings. Standard procedure for." Winter's explanation was cut short as the aircraft shuddered violently. "They've spotted us," she said tersely. "Some kind of energy beam just scanned us and now they're powering up weapon systems." "So much for peaceful first contact," Diego muttered. "What are our options?" "We have an experimental EMP device that might disrupt their electronics, assuming they use anything remotely similar to our technology. Or we have missiles with quantum-lock targeting systems that should, in theory, bypass any defensive measures." The decision was made for them as a brilliant pulse of energy erupted from seemingly empty air, narrowly missing their wing. "Return fire," Diego ordered. "The EMP first. Let's try to disable rather than destroy if possible." Winters deployed the weapon, and for a moment nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a mirage dissolving, the outline of a sleek metallic craft appeared in the sky ahead of them, and it was falling. "Direct hit," Winters exclaimed. "Their systems are failing, they're going down in the ocean." Diego watched in amazement as the alien vessel, now fully visible, plummeted toward the Pacific. "Alert the recovery team. We need to secure that crash site before anyone else sees it." As they circled above the splashdown location, Diego couldn't help but feel that something monumentally important had just occurred. Humanity had just won its first skirmish against an extraterrestrial threat, and the rest of the world didn't even know it had happened. On the command deck of the inevitable domination, Admiral Jorvik received the distress signal from Scout Vessel 3, with disbelief that quickly transformed into rage. "Impossible," he snarled. "A Category 3 civilization couldn't possibly have detected our scouts, let alone possessed weapons capable of disabling one." Lieutenant Nira approached cautiously, aware of her superior's legendary temper. "We've lost contact with 3 scout vessels, Admiral. The others report unexpected resistance. The humans appear to have detection technology far beyond what our initial surveys indicated." Jorvik slammed his scaled fist against his command chair. This was supposed to be a simple acquisition. How could our intelligence be so flawed? "Unknown, Admiral. But the humans are displaying capabilities that would classify them as at least a Category 5 threat." The admission visibly disturbed Jorvik. The Draconian Empire had never failed in a planetary acquisition, not once in its thousand-year history of expansion. His name would not be the first associated with such a humiliation. "Deploy the first wave of battle cruisers," he ordered. "I want those human defense systems identified and neutralized, and find me everything we know about their technology. Someone has made a grave miscalculation, and I intend to correct it permanently." As Nira hurried to comply, Jorvik turned his gaze back to the viewscreen, where Earth continued its serene rotation, oblivious to the conflict beginning to unfold around it. What had seemed like an unremarkable planet now represented the first serious challenge to draconian dominance in centuries. "You've surprised us humans," he murmured. "But the Empire does not tolerate surprises, Doctor." Eliza Harrison hadn't slept in 36 hours, but adrenaline and determination kept her focused as she examined the recovered alien technology. The scout ship that Commander Reyes had disabled had been quickly retrieved from the Pacific Ocean and transported to a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, where her team worked feverishly to understand their unexpected visitors. "Their propulsion system uses principles of quantum field manipulation we've only theorized about," she explained to Director Novik, who watched via secure video link along with representatives from a dozen countries' military and scientific communities. "But their computational systems are surprisingly less advanced than I would have expected." "Meaning what exactly?" General Rodriguez of the UN Joint Defense Council asked. "Meaning they've clearly mastered certain technological domains, energy generation, propulsion, weapons. But their approach to information technology suggests a rigidity of thinking," Eliza replied. "Their computers use crystalline storage matrices that are incredibly efficient but programmed in ways that suggest they rarely need to adapt to unexpected scenarios." Director Novik leaned forward. "Are you suggesting we might have an advantage there?" Eliza nodded. "Potentially. Human computer systems evolved through constant adaptation to cyber threats, hardware limitations, and rapidly changing requirements. We're messy but flexible. Their systems seem designed for stability and reliability in known conditions, not rapid adaptation." "Can we exploit this difference?" The question came from Dr. Wei of China's Advanced Research Division. "I believe so," Eliza replied, excitement creeping into her tired voice. "We've already reverse-engineered enough of their communication protocols to potentially insert our own code into their network. With a few more hours, we might be able to create a virus that could temporarily disable their ship's offensive capabilities." General Rodriguez looked skeptical. "You're saying we can hack the aliens? That sounds like science fiction, Doctor." Eliza smiled thinly. "With respect, General, so does this entire situation. But yes, I believe we can hack them. And we better move quickly because our orbital sensors show another wave of vessels deploying from the larger ships in orbit." Commander Reyes, who had been silently observing until now, spoke up. "The vessel we encountered seemed completely unprepared for our EMP weapon. If we can deploy similar technology against multiple targets simultaneously." "Exactly," Eliza agreed. "They're clearly technologically superior in many ways, but they seem to have blind spots, assumptions about what a primitive species like us should be capable of. That's our window of opportunity." Director Novik nodded decisively. "Dr. Harrison, you have whatever resources you need to develop this countermeasure. Commander Reyes, coordinate with international defense forces to prepare a coordinated response when the next wave arrives. Ladies and gentlemen, we may be outgunned, but we are not yet outmatched." As the meeting dispersed, Eliza returned to her workstation, where fragments of alien code scrolled across multiple screens. The draconian systems were elegant but predictable, designed by beings who valued order and hierarchy above all else. Human software, by contrast, was a chaotic mixture of competing standards, patches upon patches, and creative workarounds. "Sometimes," she murmured to herself, "messy is exactly what you need." Admiral Jorvik watched in mounting fury as reports of failures continued to reach the command deck. 12 battle cruisers had descended to engage the humans directly, and 5 had already gone silent. The remaining 7 reported increasing difficulties as their targeting systems malfunctioned and their communications became unreliable. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his technical officer, Commander Vorn, who cowered visibly before his rage. "They are using our own systems against us, Admiral," Vorn explained nervously. "It appears that the humans have introduced a corrupting element into our fleet network, a virus they would call it. It's rewriting our command protocols faster than our security systems can isolate it." Jorvik's normally bronze scales had darkened to an ominous shade of crimson, the draconian equivalent of a face flushed with anger. "You assured me their technology was primitive, that they would have no defense against our weapons." "Based on our initial scans, they shouldn't have," Vorn protested. "But they appear to have been concealing their true capabilities or developing them specifically in response to our arrival." This possibility gave Jorvik pause. The Empire's strategy had always relied on overwhelming technological superiority and the element of surprise. But these humans had seemingly anticipated their arrival and prepared accordingly. More disturbing still, they were adapting to draconian technology with alarming speed. Admiral, Lieutenant Nira interrupted his thoughts. Our sensors detect multiple launching sites on the planet's surface. The humans are deploying aerial vehicles toward our positions. Jorvik hissed in frustration. Destroy them, use the primary energy cannons if necessary. Our targeting systems are compromised, Admiral, Nira replied. The virus has spread throughout the fleet network. We can still fire, but accuracy is severely degraded. On the view screen, Jorvik watched as swarms of small, primitive-looking human aircraft approached his remaining battle cruisers. By all logic, they should pose no threat to draconian shields and armor. Yet as he watched, the human vessels released weapons that somehow penetrated his ship's defenses, causing cascading system failures. They're targeting our cooling systems, Commander Vorn realized aloud, but how could they know? They've analyzed the scout ship they captured, Jorvik concluded grimly, and identified our vulnerabilities with remarkable speed. He turned to Nira. Order all remaining vessels to withdraw to high orbit. We need to recalibrate our strategy. As his remaining battle cruisers retreated, Jorvik felt something unfamiliar settle in his chest. Doubt. The Draconian Empire had encountered hundreds of species in its expansion, but none had offered resistance like this. None had turned the Empire's technology against itself so effectively. Admiral, Nira said quietly, High Command is requesting an update on the acquisition of Earth. Jorvik stared at the blue planet on the view screen. What had seemed like an easy conquest now loomed as a potential catastrophe for his career, and possibly for the Empire's expansion strategy as a whole. Tell them, he said slowly, that we have encountered unexpected complications. On the surface of Earth, humanity's coordinated counterstrike was taking shape. In laboratories and military bases across the globe, scientists and engineers worked frantically to adapt the insights gained from the captured alien technology into weapons that could be deployed against the invasion fleet. Commander Reyes now found himself in charge of a multinational squadron of pilots, each flying aircraft hastily retrofitted with reverse-engineered alien technology. The upgrades had been completed mere hours before the Draconian battle cruisers entered the atmosphere. Your training, he told his pilots over the secure channel as they approached the massive alien vessel hovering over the Atlantic. Target the external cooling vanes precisely as instructed. Their ships generate enormous energy, and without proper cooling, their systems will overload. What about their weapons, Commander? Asked his wingman, a Japanese Air Force captain whose voice betrayed understandable nervousness. Dr. Harrison's virus has compromised their targeting systems, Diego replied with more confidence than he felt. They'll try to fire, but their accuracy should be severely degraded. Stay in formation and execute the attack pattern exactly as planned. As they approached the alien craft, a behemoth that dwarfed the largest human aircraft carrier, Diego saw energy weapons discharge wildly, most shots missing his squadron entirely. The few that came close were deflected by the protective fields generated by the technology Eliza's team had adapted from the scout ship. Weapons hot, he ordered. Execute attack run now. The squadron broke into 3 groups, approaching the Draconian vessel from different angles. Each aircraft released missiles specifically designed to attach to the alien ship's cooling vanes and inject a rapidly expanding foam that would block heat dissipation. It was a simple solution, almost crude compared to the advanced energy weapons the aliens employed, but devastatingly effective. Within minutes, alarms were blaring throughout the Draconian battle cruiser as critical systems began to overheat. Emergency protocols activated, shutting down weapons and propulsion to prevent catastrophic failure. Direct hits confirmed, Diego reported as his squadron regrouped at a safe distance. The target is losing altitude. All offensive systems appear to be offline. Similar reports were coming in from around the globe as other squadrons executed identical attacks on the remaining Draconian vessels. One by one, the mighty ships of the alien fleet were being neutralized, not by matching their advanced technology, but by exploiting basic physical principles they had overlooked in their confidence. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Eliza watched the signals from the alien fleet fade one by one from their tracking systems. It's working, she said, hardly daring to believe it. They're retreating. Director Novik nodded grimly, but they'll be back and with a better understanding of what they're facing. This isn't over, Dr. Harrison, it's barely begun. Back on the inevitable domination, Admiral Jorvik faced the most humiliating moment of his career. All 12 battle cruisers had either been disabled or forced to retreat. The humans, a species that by all accounts should have been helpless against draconian technology, had not only defended themselves but had done so with devastating effectiveness. "Order all remaining vessels to disengage and return to the fleet," he commanded, his voice tight with suppressed rage. "We need to reassess." Lieutenant Nira hesitated. "Admiral, 3 of our vessels are unable to retreat. Their propulsion systems have been completely disabled by the human attack." Jorvik's claw-like hands gripped the arms of his command chair. "The self-destruct protocols." "Also compromised by the human virus," Commander Vorn reported. "We cannot remotely detonate the disabled ships." For the first time in his long and distinguished career, Admiral Jorvik faced a situation with no good options. The disabled ships would inevitably be captured by the humans, providing them with even more draconian technology to study and potentially use against the Empire. Yet there was nothing he could do about it. "Prepare a full strategic report for High Command," he ordered. "I want detailed analyses of every aspect of the human counterattack. How did they detect our ships? How did they penetrate our systems? How did they identify our vulnerabilities so quickly? We must understand what we're facing before we attempt another engagement." As the massive draconian mothership retreated to a higher orbit, the crew worked in silence, the usual atmosphere of confident efficiency replaced by shock and uncertainty. The Empire had suffered defeats before, but never so unexpected, never against an opponent deemed so inferior. Jorvik retired to his private quarters, seething with a mixture of rage and curiosity. He activated his personal terminal and began reviewing everything the Empire knew about humans. Their history revealed a species constantly at war with itself, yet capable of remarkable cooperation when faced with external threats. Their technological development had been exponential over just a few centuries, far faster than the measured, deliberate advancement of the Draconian Empire over millennia. Most intriguing was their cultural output, their stories, their art, their music. Again and again, these creations depicted scenarios in which humans overcame vastly superior forces through creativity, adaptability, and what the humans called thinking outside the box. The phrase was unfamiliar to Jorvik, but its meaning was becoming painfully clear. "Perhaps," he murmured to himself, "we have underestimated more than just their technology." On Earth, the immediate threat had passed, but a new reality was dawning. Governments around the world were being briefed on the existence of Project Sentinel and the alien encounter that had just transpired. The public remained largely unaware, but that would change soon enough. In the command center, Eliza and her team were already at work studying the new data from the engagement and preparing for what might come next. Commander Reyes had been tasked with overseeing the recovery operations for the disabled alien vessels, a treasure trove of advanced technology that could accelerate human development by decades, perhaps centuries. "Do you think they'll be back?" Reyes asked Eliza as they reviewed tactical footage from the battle. She nodded without hesitation. "Absolutely, we didn't defeat their entire fleet, just the advance force, and they'll be better prepared next time." "So will we," Diego said firmly. "Every day we have with their technology gives us another advantage." Eliza smiled tiredly. "That's what they didn't count on, how quickly we can adapt. It might be our greatest strength." As they spoke, in orbit around Earth, the Draconian fleet was preparing for its long journey back to the Empire's core systems. Admiral Jorvik stood on his command deck once more, watching the blue planet recede on the view screen. "First Sentinel Jorvik," came the formal address from Lieutenant Nira, using his full title. "The fleet is assembled and ready for transition to subspace." Jorvik nodded, his expression unreadable. "Proceed." As the stars blurred around them, marking their departure from Earth's system, he added quietly, "And begin preparations for our return. This is not over." 2 weeks after the Draconian retreat, the United Nations Security Council convened in an extraordinary secret session. Representatives from every major nation sat around the circular table, their faces grim as they absorbed the implications of what they'd just learned. Director Novik had just finished briefing them on Project Sentinel and the alien encounter that had nearly led to Earth's subjugation. "So you're telling us," the British representative said, breaking the stunned silence, "that an advanced alien civilization attempted to invade Earth, and a secret international organization that none of our governments officially sanctioned managed to repel them?" "That's correct," Director Novik replied calmly. Project Sentinel was established 12 years ago by a coalition of scientists and military personnel who recognized the possibility of extraterrestrial contact and the potential dangers it posed. And you kept this from the world's governments. The Chinese representative's voice carried clear disapproval. Dr. Eliza Harrison stepped forward. With respect, Madam Representative, the project operated with the tacit approval of select officials within each of your governments. Plausible deniability was maintained to prevent panic and to ensure the project could operate without political interference. Regardless of how we got here, the American representative interjected, the question now is what we do next. These Draconians will return, yes. Without doubt, Commander Reyes confirmed. Their retreat was tactical, not a surrender. Our best intelligence suggests they will return with a larger force, better prepared for our defenses. The Russian representative leaned forward. How much time do we have? Director Novik glanced at Eliza, who consulted her notes. Based on the propulsion capabilities we've observed and our analysis of their communications, we estimate between 3 and 6 months before they can return in force. Then we have work to do, the French representative stated. Project Sentinel must be expanded, properly funded, and given all the resources it needs. For once, there was unanimous agreement around the table. Within hours, the Security Council passed Resolution 2314, establishing the Earth Defense Initiative EDI, a unified global response to the extraterrestrial threat, built upon the foundation laid by Project Sentinel. In the months that followed, the world transformed. Military bases across the globe became centers for reverse engineering alien technology. Universities redirected research toward understanding and adapting draconian systems. Industrial facilities retooled to manufacture the new weapons and defensive systems being developed. Dr. Harrison now led a team of thousands rather than dozens, operating from a vastly expanded facility that had been carved deeper into the Rocky Mountains. The 3 captured Draconian vessels had yielded technological insights beyond her wildest hopes. The crystalline computing cores are the key, she explained to a gathering of the world's leading computer scientists. They're incredibly efficient but fundamentally vulnerable to unexpected inputs. Our chaotic programming approaches can essentially create computational paradoxes that their systems can't resolve. Professor Okafor from Nigeria's Advanced Computing Institute nodded in understanding. Like trying to divide by 0, it creates a cascading failure in their rigidly structured systems. Exactly, Eliza confirmed. And we've also made breakthroughs in understanding their energy generation. They use a form of zero-point energy extraction that's far beyond anything we've developed, but the principles are surprisingly comprehensible. In another section of the facility, Commander Reyes worked with international military forces to develop new tactical approaches for the coming conflict. The Draconians fight like an empire that's never known defeat, he told his officers during a strategy session. Their movements are textbook, their formations perfect and utterly predictable. They have no concept of asymmetric warfare because they've never needed it. That's our advantage, added Colonel Yamamoto of the Japanese Self-Defense Forces. They expect direct confrontation ship against ship where their technological superiority should guarantee victory. Instead, we'll give them chaos, Reyes confirmed. Hit-and-run attacks, electronic warfare, and completely unexpected tactics. They think like conquerors, we need to think like rebels. High above Earth, hidden in the shadow of the moon, a small stealth satellite detected the first signs of the Draconian return. A ripple in spacetime, followed by the emergence of a massive vessel, far larger than any seen in the first engagement. The warning raced through the EDI communication network, and within minutes, defensive systems around the world went to high alert. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Director Novik watched grimly as more signals appeared on the holographic display. How many? He asked. 57 vessels detected so far, reported Lieutenant Winters from her monitoring station. The largest is approximately 3 kilometers in length. The others range from 200 meters to 1 kilometer. Novik turned to Dr. Harrison's, "Are we ready?" Despite the gravity of the situation, Eliza allowed herself a small smile. As ready as we'll ever be. On the command deck of the Draconian flagship, the inexorable Conquest, Grand Admiral Jorvik surveyed the tactical display with cold determination. The vessel dwarfed his previous command, befitting his newly elevated status. His apparent failure in the first encounter with Earth had nearly ended his career, until his analysis of human adaptability had convinced the Imperial High Command of the true nature of the threat. Now he returned with the authority to use whatever force necessary to subdue the troublesome planet. Beside him stood High Commander Tanix, a representative of the Imperial War Council sent to observe his redemption or his final failure. "Impressive force, Grand Admiral," Tanix remarked, his ancient scales shimmering in the low light of the command deck. "Surely sufficient to handle these humans." Jorvik detected the subtle mockery in Tanix's tone but refused to be provoked. "The humans are more formidable than their technological level would suggest, High Commander. They adapt with remarkable speed and think in ways our strategists find difficult to predict." "So you've said in your reports," Tanix replied dismissively. "Yet they remain a pre-interstellar species with limited resources and experience. This time there will be no surprises." "Deploy the first wave," Jorvik ordered, ignoring the baiting. "Full stealth protocols. Approach vectors randomized to avoid predictable patterns. All ships to maintain communication blackout until in firing position." Lieutenant Nira, now promoted to first officer, relayed the commands efficiently. 20 Draconian warships broke formation, activating their advanced cloaking systems as they descended toward Earth. "No response from the humans yet," she reported after several minutes. "Perhaps they haven't detected our arrival." Jorvik frowned. Something felt wrong. During the first engagement, the humans had somehow detected his cloaked vessels immediately. Had they lost that capability, or was something else at play? "Maintain alert status," he ordered, "and prepare the second wave." Earth's response came not as conventional weapons fire, but as an invisible wave of digital chaos. Carefully crafted data packets, transmitted from ground-based stations and orbital platforms, penetrated the Draconian ship's communication systems despite their blackout protocols. Within seconds, warning signals flashed across the tactical display as ship after ship reported system intrusions. "Impossible," High Commander Tanix exclaimed. "Our cybernetic defenses were completely redesigned after the first encounter." "And yet the humans have already found a way through them," Jorvik observed with grim resignation. "Order all vessels to engage emergency isolation protocols. Cut all network systems if necessary." But it was already too late for many ships in the first wave. Their propulsion systems faltered, weapons went offline, and life support began to fluctuate. The humans had struck first and devastatingly. In orbit around Earth, the true counteroffensive began. From concealed hangars across the planet's surface, thousands of small craft launched simultaneously. Each was piloted by a human but incorporated draconian technology, particularly the cooling foam weapons that had proven so effective in the first encounter. Commander Reyes led the North American squadron, his retrofitted fighter moving with unprecedented speed and maneuverability thanks to reverse-engineered alien propulsion. "All wings report in," he called over the secure channel as his forces approached the faltering Draconian first wave. "Pacific Squadron standing by. European wing in position. Asian Defense Force ready for engagement. Southern Hemisphere Squadron awaiting your command." Diego took a deep breath, acutely aware of the historical significance of this moment. "Commence attack pattern Echo. Remember your training and target assignments for Earth." The human squadrons split into their designated attack groups, each targeting a specific Draconian vessel. Unlike conventional aircraft, these fighters could operate in both atmosphere and vacuum, allowing them to engage the alien ships in orbit. In the command center, Eliza watched the battle unfold with a mixture of pride and anxiety. The virus she had helped develop was working better than expected, but the Draconians were already adapting, isolating affected systems to prevent complete failure. "They're learning," she noted to Director Novik. "The virus won't work twice on the same ship." "That's why we have Phase 2, Novik reminded her. "Are the orbital platforms ready?" Eliza nodded. All 6 are in position, powered up and targeting. During the months of preparation, Earth had deployed a series of defense platforms in geosynchronous orbit, disguised as communication satellites. Now they revealed their true nature, protective panels sliding away to expose weapons based on draconian technology, but modified in ways the aliens wouldn't expect. "Platforms online," Lieutenant Winters confirmed, targeting the second wave of enemy vessels. Fire, Novak ordered. 6 brilliant beams of concentrated energy lanced out from Earth's orbit, each striking a draconian warship with pinpoint accuracy. The alien vessel's shields flared violently before collapsing, leaving them vulnerable to conventional follow-up attacks from Earth's fighters. On the inexorable conquest, Admiral Jorvik watched with growing concern as his carefully planned invasion faltered in its initial stages. "Withdraw the first wave," he ordered. "Second wave to maintain position, we need to reassess." High Commander Tannix's scales had darkened with rage. "Withdraw, before we've even engaged their planetary defenses. The Imperial High Command will view this as cowardice, Jorvik." "The Imperial High Command isn't here," Jorvik snapped. "I am, and I will not sacrifice our forces needlessly. The humans have prepared extensively for our return, more thoroughly than we anticipated. We need to understand what we're facing before we commit our main force." As the surviving ships of the first wave retreated to safer orbits, Jorvik studied the tactical data with growing respect for his adversaries. The humans had not only replicated draconian technology but had improved upon it in unexpected ways. Their smaller vessels moved with a randomness that made them difficult to target, and their electronic warfare capabilities had evolved dramatically since their first encounter. "Analysis," he demanded of his tactical officer. "The humans are using our own technology against us, Admiral," Commander Vorn reported. "But they've modified it according to their own, unconventional thinking. Their attack patterns follow no recognizable military doctrine. Each squadron seems to operate with significant autonomy rather than centralized command." This confirmed Jorvik's previous assessment. The humans' greatest strength wasn't their technology but their adaptability and unpredictable nature. The Draconian Empire's military might was built on perfect coordination and standardized tactics, a strength against conventional foes but potentially a weakness against the chaos of human warfare. "Prepare the main assault force," he ordered, "but first we'll test their orbital defenses." 3 massive Draconian dreadnoughts moved into position, their planet-cracking weapons powering up. If the humans wished to fight unconventionally, Jorvik would remind them of the consequences of challenging the Empire. "Target their defensive platforms," he commanded. "Demonstrate what happens to those who resist Imperial rule." As the dreadnoughts prepared to fire, Earth's orbital platforms swiveled to face the new threat. But rather than attempting to match the Draconians' firepower directly, they executed a different strategy. Each platform fired not at the dreadnoughts but into seemingly empty space near them. "What are they doing?" Tannix demanded. "Their weapons aren't even aimed at our ships." Jorvik's eyes narrowed as he saw the energy beams intersect, creating interference patterns that rippled through space. Suddenly, alarms blared across the command deck. "Spatial distortion detected," First Officer Nira reported urgently. "The human weapons are creating some kind of gravitational anomaly." Jorvik watched in disbelief as the fabric of spacetime around his dreadnoughts began to warp and twist, trapping the massive vessels in localized gravity wells that disrupted their targeting systems and strained their structural integrity. "Impossible," Tannix whispered. "This technology is beyond them." "Not anymore," Jorvik replied grimly. "They've had our ships to study and apparently they've learned well." As the dreadnoughts struggled against the artificial gravity wells, Earth's fighter squadrons swarmed in, targeting vulnerable systems with surgical precision. One by one, the mighty Draconian warships found themselves crippled, not destroyed but effectively neutralized as threats. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, a cheer went up as the tactical display showed the dreadnoughts' weapons going offline. "Phase 2 successful," Lieutenant Winters reported. "Enemy capital ships neutralized." But Eliza's expression remained concerned. "That was too easy," she said quietly to Director Novik. "Jorvik is testing us, seeing what capabilities we've developed." Novik nodded in agreement. The real battle hasn't even begun yet. On the inexorable conquest, Admiral Jorvik reached the same conclusion. The humans had revealed impressive capabilities, but surely not all of them. The time for testing was over. "Prepare all remaining vessels for simultaneous attack," he ordered. "Multiple vectors, full weapons deployment. We will overwhelm their defenses through sheer force." As the massive Draconian fleet moved into attack formation, the greatest battle for Earth's future was about to begin. 6 months after the Draconian retreat, Earth had changed in profound ways. Nations that had been adversaries for generations now worked in unprecedented cooperation, united by the knowledge that humanity was not alone in the universe. and that not all cosmic neighbors were friendly. Dr. Eliza Harrison stood on the observation deck of the newly completed Orbital Defense Platform Alpha, watching Earth rotate serenely below. The view still took her breath away, even after several visits to the station. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Commander Reyes joined her at the viewport, handing her a steaming cup of coffee. "More than I ever imagined," she agreed. "When I started Project Sentinel, I never dreamed I'd see Earth from space." The observation deck door slid open, and Director Novik entered, accompanied by a delegation of officials from the Earth Defense Initiative. "Dr. Harrison, Commander Reyes, if you're ready, the Council is waiting for your briefing." They made their way to the station's conference room, where representatives from every inhabited continent sat around a circular table. The EDI Council had become humanity's first truly global governing body, coordinating Earth's defense and technological development in the wake of the Draconian crisis. "Dr. Harrison, please proceed," Novik said once they were seated. Eliza activated the holographic display in the center of the table. "As you know, we've made substantial progress in understanding and adapting Draconian technology. The Orbital Defense Network is now fully operational, with 12 platforms providing complete coverage of Earth's surface and near space." The hologram showed the network of stations, each equipped with advanced sensors and weapons systems derived from captured alien technology. "Our ground-based defenses have also been upgraded," Commander Reyes continued. "Every continent now hosts at least one rapid response center with fighters capable of both atmospheric and space operations. Additionally, we've established the Earth Defense Fleet." The hologram shifted to show 5 large vessels of distinctly human design, but incorporating draconian technology. They represented humanity's first true warships designed for space combat. "Most importantly," Eliza added, "we've developed a comprehensive early warning system. If when the Draconians return, we'll know well in advance." The Brazilian representative raised a hand. "And what do our long-range sensors tell us? Is there any sign of their return?" Eliza exchanged a glance with Director Novik, who nodded slightly. "We've detected unusual activity at the edge of our solar system," she admitted. "Nothing definitive yet, but the patterns are consistent with long-range Draconian scouts." A murmur went through the council members. "How long do we have?" asked the Nigerian representative. "Impossible to say with certainty," Eliza replied. "But based on our observations and what we know of their capabilities, I'd estimate 3 to 6 months before any major force could arrive." "And are we ready?" The question came from the Japanese counselor, her expression grave. Commander Reyes stepped forward. "We're better prepared than we were, certainly. Our technology has advanced decades in just months, but the Draconians will have learned from their defeat as well. They won't make the same mistakes twice." Director Novik addressed the council directly. "What Commander Reyes is too diplomatic to say is that while we've closed the gap, we're still technologically outmatched. The Draconian Empire spans dozens of star systems. They have resources and experience we can't match yet." "Then what hope do we have?" The Indian representative's question hung in the air. "The same hope we had before," Eliza said firmly. "Human ingenuity. Our ability to adapt, to think differently, to find solutions where others see only problems. That's what saved us the first time, and it's still our greatest strength." As the meeting continued, discussing defense allocations and research priorities, Commander Reyes found his thoughts drifting to the future. Humanity had taken its first halting steps into a larger universe, but at what cost? The peace and stability of Earth now depended on preparing for a war that might never end. Later, as he and Eliza rode the orbital elevator back to the surface, he voiced these concerns. "Sometimes I wonder if we're becoming too much like them," he said quietly, "building weapons, preparing for war. What happens to humanity if this becomes our entire focus?" Eliza considered his words carefully before responding. "There's an old saying, si vis pacem para bellum. If you want peace, prepare for war. But I think there's more to it than that. We're not just building weapons, Diego. We're building a truly united Earth for the first time in history. We're advancing science and technology at an unprecedented rate. And most importantly, we're beginning to look beyond our own atmosphere to see ourselves as part of something much larger." "You think something good can come from this conflict?" "I think humanity needed a push to reach its potential," she replied. "I just wish it hadn't come in the form of an invasion. Across the vast gulf of interstellar space, in the throne room of the Draconian Imperial Palace, Grand Admiral Jorvik knelt before Emperor Tyzak. The massive chamber fell silent as the Emperor studied the defeated admiral with ancient, calculating eyes. "Rise, Jorvik," the Emperor commanded finally. "Explain to me why the mightiest fleet in the Empire's history retreated from a primitive world on the galaxy's edge." Jorvik stood, meeting the Emperor's gaze directly, a boldness that caused murmurs among the assembled court. "Because to have stayed would have meant the destruction of that fleet, Your Imperial Majesty. The humans have capabilities that defy their classification. They think differently than we do." "Different does not mean superior," the Emperor countered. "They remain a pre-interstellar species. With respect, Your Majesty, they may not remain so for long. In the brief time between our first and second engagements, they reverse-engineered our technology and developed countermeasures we had not anticipated. Their rate of adaptation exceeds anything in Imperial records." The Emperor's tail twitched slightly, the only indication of his interest. "And what would you suggest, Admiral? Shall the Draconian Empire simply avoid this insignificant world, allow a potential threat to develop unchecked?" "No, Your Majesty, but perhaps our approach should be reconsidered. The humans defended their world with remarkable effectiveness, but they have not shown expansionist tendencies. They fight when threatened but have made no moves to strike beyond their system." An elderly Draconian stepped forward from the shadows beside the throne, Grand Strategist Zalthir, whose wisdom had guided the Empire's expansion for generations. "Your Majesty, I have reviewed Admiral Jorvik's reports extensively," he said in a raspy voice. "His assessment of the human species aligns with my own analysis. They represent something we have not encountered before, a species whose primary evolutionary advantage appears to be adaptability itself." Emperor's eyes narrowed. "What are you suggesting, strategist?" "That there may be more to gain from studying the humans than conquering them, at least for now. Their chaotic approach to problem-solving, while primitive, has produced solutions our own scientists had not considered. They may offer insights that could benefit the Empire." Murmurs of shock rippled through the throne room at this unprecedented suggestion. The Draconian Empire had always expanded through conquest, not cooperation. Emperor Tyzak raised a clawed hand for silence. "You propose we learn from these humans." "I propose we recognize a potential resource, Your Majesty," Zalthir replied carefully. "Admiral Jorvik's forces could have destroyed the humans' world with our planet-breaker weapons, yet he chose a tactical retreat instead. This preserved both our fleet and a species of unique capabilities. I believe this decision, while unusual, served the Empire's interests." Emperor considered this for a long moment. "Admiral Jorvik, you will return to the human system with a reduced force. Not to conquer, but to observe and assess. If these humans are indeed as adaptable as you claim, I wish to know more before committing to further conflict." Jorvik bowed deeply. "As you command, Your Majesty." As he left the throne room, Admiral Jorvik found Grand Strategist Zalthir waiting in the antechamber. "An interesting species, these humans," the ancient Draconian remarked. "In all my centuries advising the throne, I've never encountered a psychological profile quite like theirs. Their fractiousness should be a weakness, yet in crisis it becomes a strength." "They call it diversity of thought," Jorvik replied. "They value different perspectives, different approaches. It's chaotic and inefficient, but effective," Zalthir finished. "Tell me, Admiral, in your honest assessment, could the Empire have conquered Earth?" Jorvik considered the question carefully. "With sufficient force, yes, but at a cost few would find acceptable. And even then, I'm not certain we could hold it. The humans would never stop fighting, never stop adapting. They would find our weaknesses eventually." "Just as I suspected," the strategist nodded. "Perhaps it is time for the Empire to adapt as well. Conquest is not the only path to greatness." 3 months later, Earth's early warning system detected a small group of vessels entering the solar system. Unlike the previous invasion forces, these ships made no attempt to conceal themselves, broadcasting continuously on frequencies the humans could detect. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Director Novik, Dr. Harrison, and Commander Reyes watched anxiously as the alien vessels approached. "Just 3 ships," Diego noted, "too small for an invasion force." "Unless they're carrying planet-killer weapons," Novik countered grimly. Eliza studied the sensor data closely. "Their energy signatures are different from before. Defensive systems at full power, but weapons systems appear to be in standby mode." They're being deliberately transparent, Diego realized, showing us they're not here to fight. Or it's a trap, Novik said. The EDI Council convened an emergency session debating how to respond to the approaching vessels. After hours of discussion, they reached a consensus. Earth would not fire first, but neither would they lower their defenses. A message was transmitted to the lead Draconian vessel using the communication protocols Eliza's team had deciphered. The message was simple: state your purpose. The response came almost immediately in perfect English: we come to talk. 2 days later, in a specially constructed facility on the Moon, neutral ground, away from Earth but within humanity's defensive perimeter, the first official diplomatic meeting between humans and Draconians took place. Admiral Jorvik led the Draconian delegation, accompanied by senior scientists and diplomatic advisors selected by the Imperial Court. Earth was represented by Director Novik, Dr. Harrison, Commander Reyes, and select members of the EDI Council. Greetings, representatives of Earth, Jorvik began formally. I am Grand Admiral Jorvik of the Draconian Empire. I come under the direct authority of Emperor Tyzek to initiate formal dialogue between our civilizations. Director Novik stepped forward. I am Director Anton Novik of the Earth Defense Initiative. We accept your offer of dialogue, Admiral Jorvik, though I must note that our previous encounters have given us reason for caution. Understandably so, Jorvik acknowledged. Our initial approach to your world followed protocols established over centuries of imperial expansion. Those protocols proved inadequate when applied to humanity. You mean you tried to conquer us and failed? Commander Reyes said bluntly. Jorvik's scales rippled in what might have been the draconian equivalent of a rueful smile. As I said, Commander, our protocols proved inadequate. The Empire has been forced to reassess its understanding of your species. Dr. Harrison leaned forward. And what is your understanding now, Admiral? That humanity represents something unique in our experience, Jorvik replied. A species whose technological development has been chaotic and uneven, yet remarkably rapid. A species that values individualism yet can unite against external threats. A species that adapts with unprecedented speed. He paused, meeting each human's gaze in turn. In short, a species the Empire would be unwise to underestimate again. Are you saying the Draconian Empire no longer sees Earth as a conquest target? Director Novik asked skeptically. I am saying that the Emperor himself has recognized that there may be more to gain from understanding humanity than subjugating it, Jorvik replied. We propose an exchange, knowledge and technology for knowledge and technology, peaceful contact between our civilizations. The human delegation exchanged glances, years of conspiracy theories about alien abductions and secret deals making this moment surreal. Why should we trust you? Commander Reyes asked. Your empire has been expanding through conquest for centuries by your own admission. Because you have proven yourselves worthy opponents, Jorvik said simply, and the empire, for all its flaws, recognizes strength. You have earned respect, and with it, the opportunity for a different kind of relationship. The negotiations continued for days, each side wary but increasingly engaged. The Draconians were fascinated by human creativity and adaptability, while the humans were eager to learn about the wider galaxy and more advanced technologies. Eventually, a preliminary agreement was reached. A limited exchange program would begin, with small delegations from each side visiting the other's worlds under strict protocols. Earth would gain access to certain draconian technologies, particularly in medicine and clean energy production, while the Empire would learn from human approaches to problem-solving and innovation. As the Draconian delegation prepared to depart, Admiral Jorvik requested a private word with Dr. Harrison. Your virus, he said when they were alone, the one that incapacitated our fleet systems, our best analysts still haven't fully understood how it worked. Eliza smiled slightly. Chaos theory applied to computer science, Admiral. Sometimes the most powerful solutions come from embracing randomness rather than trying to impose perfect order. Jorvik nodded thoughtfully. A concept alien to draconian thinking, but perhaps one we need to understand. Your species has much to teach mine, Doctor. As yours has to teach us, she acknowledged, though I hope future lessons won't involve invasion fleets. The universe is vast and often hostile, Dr. Harrison, Jorvik replied seriously. There are forces beyond even the Draconian Empire that would view your world as nothing more than resources to be harvested. You may find that having the Empire as an ally rather than an enemy serves Earth well in the times to come. As the Draconian ships departed, humanity stood at the threshold of a new era. The immediate threat had passed, replaced by cautious opportunity. Earth continued to build its defenses, unwilling to rely solely on diplomatic assurances, but also began to look outward with new purpose. Within a year, the first human vessel designed for interstellar travel was under construction, incorporating both adapted draconian technology and uniquely human innovations. Commander Reyes had been selected to lead its maiden voyage, a journey to the nearest star system as a demonstration of humanity's new capabilities. In her laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains, now expanded into a major research center, Dr. Harrison worked on understanding the principles that might someday allow humans to travel between stars as easily as they now traveled between continents. "Do you think they'll keep their word?" Diego asked her during one of their rare quiet moments together. "The Draconians, I mean." "I think Admiral Jorvik will," she replied. "He seems to genuinely respect what we accomplished. As for the rest of their empire," she shrugged, "that's why we keep building defenses while extending a hand in friendship." Diego nodded, looking at the star chart that now dominated one wall of the lab. No longer just an astronomical curiosity, but a map of humanity's potential future. "They laughed at Earth," he mused. "Then their entire fleet disappeared, now they want to be friends." "Not friends exactly," Eliza corrected. "More like wary partners, but it's a start." Outside the laboratory window, the night sky sparkled with stars, each one no longer just a distant light but a possible destination. Humanity had faced its first great extraterrestrial challenge and emerged not just intact but stronger, more united, and with its eyes firmly fixed on the cosmos. The universe had proven to be more dangerous than anyone had imagined, but also filled with more possibilities than anyone had dreamed.